The trajectory of the KF-21 Boramae program, often heralded as the pinnacle of South Korean aerospace engineering, has reached a critical geopolitical juncture in early 2026. While the technical milestones of the aircraft continue to impress global observers, the diplomatic and financial architecture supporting the project is showing severe fractures. The focal point of this instability is the increasingly tenuous partnership with Indonesia, a collaboration that initially promised market access to Southeast Asia, but has devolved into a saga of payment delays, security breaches, and diverging strategic interests. As the geopolitical landscape shifts, an objective assessment suggests that the viability of the KF-21 as a global export product may now depend on a decisive pivot away from Jakarta and toward more reliable partners such as Warsaw and Abu Dhabi. The deterioration of the joint development agreement with Indonesia is not merely a matter of accounting discrepancies, but reflects a fundamental misalignment of national priorities. By mid-2025, the South Korean government faced the pragmatic but bitter necessity of accepting a drastically reduced financial contribution from Indonesia. The original commitment of approximately 1.6 trillion South Korean won was slashed to a mere 600 billion South Korean won. This concession was made to prevent the total collapse of the diplomatic framework, yet it effectively shifted a massive financial burden onto South Korean taxpayers and the manufacturer, Korea Aerospace Industries. While Jakarta secured a reduction in its financial obligations, the nation retained significant access to technology transfers, a disparity that has fueled intense scrutiny within Seoul. This financial recalibration becomes particularly contentious when viewed against the backdrop of Indonesia's procurement activities elsewhere. The argument of fiscal constraint, frequently cited by Indonesian officials to justify payment arrears to South Korea, loses credibility when juxtaposed with their aggressive acquisition of Western hardware. The simultaneous execution of contracts for French Rafale fighters and the pursuit of the United States F-15EX Eagle II suggests that liquidity is not the primary obstacle. Rather, it indicates a strategic decision by Jakarta to prioritize off-the-shelf purchases from NATO powers over its developmental commitments to the KF-21 program. This behavior characterizes a partner that views the Boramae project not as a strategic alliance, but as a dispensable option within a broader hedging strategy. However, financial delinquency is perhaps the lesser of two major concerns. The security integrity of the KF-21 program faces an existential risk that transcends monetary value. The incident involving Indonesian engineers allegedly attempting to unauthorizedly extract sensitive technical data from Korea Aerospace Industries remains a focal point of unresolved tension. For a platform designed to serve as the backbone of the Republic of Korea Air Force, the protection of proprietary technology, specifically active electronically scanned array radar and stealth features, is paramount. The anxiety regarding information security is further amplified by the shifting diplomatic posture of Indonesia. The visit of the Indonesian foreign minister to Pyongyang in October 2025 to meet with North Korean officials has introduced a volatile variable into the equation. In an era where military technology transfer is increasingly scrutinized, the optical and practical risks of maintaining a high-level defense technology partnership with a nation that actively cultivates diplomatic warmth with North Korea are substantial. With the regime in Pyongyang continuing its missile provocations into January 2026, the potential for indirect technology leakage through diplomatic channels constitutes a worst-case scenario for South Korean national security planners. In stark contrast to the volatility associated with the Southeast Asian partnership, the emergence of Poland as a defense stakeholder presents a model of reliability and strategic convergence. Poland has rapidly established itself as the premier hub for South Korean defense systems in Europe, evidenced by the successful integration of K2 Black Panther tanks, K-9 Thunder self-propelled howitzers, and Fa-50 light attack aircraft. The Polish military requirement to retire Soviet-era MiG-29 and Su-22 fleets creates an immediate and logical vacancy for the KF-21. Unlike the F-35, which entails exorbitant operational costs and strict usage controls, the KF-21 offers a balance of advanced Generation 4.5 capabilities and operational sovereignty that aligns perfectly with Warsaw's defense doctrine. Furthermore, a partnership with Poland offers industrial synergies that Indonesia cannot match. Poland is not seeking merely to import weapons, but to establish a production and maintenance infrastructure that serves the broader Eastern European flank of NATO. Integrating the KF-21 into this existing ecosystem would secure a foothold in the European market, potentially opening doors to neighboring nations, such as Romania. The transactional history between Seoul and Warsaw demonstrates a pattern of prompt payment and mutual respect for intellectual property, elements that are currently absent in the arrangement with Jakarta. Simultaneously, the Middle East presents a second pillar for a strategic pivot. The United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia are actively seeking to diversify their defense dependencies away from a sole reliance on the United States. The Memorandum of Understanding signed between the United Arab Emirates and Korea Aerospace Industries in late 2025 regarding future flight technologies signals a concrete interest in the Boramae platform. These Gulf nations possess the capital reserves to inject immediate liquidity into the mass production phase of the KF-21, a capability that Indonesia lacks. Moreover, the political alignment of the United Arab Emirates with Western security architectures makes them a safer repository for sensitive technology compared to a non-aligned actor balancing relationships with Pyongyang. The operational reality of the global arms market dictates that sentimentality cannot override strategic imperatives. The KF-21 Boramae is entering its most critical phase, transitioning from development to mass production and deployment. This phase requires partners that contribute capital, secure orders, and political stability. Indonesia, through its persistent payment delays, flirtation with North Korea, and simultaneous courting of rival aerospace manufacturers, has demonstrated that it may no longer be that partner. The path forward for South Korea involves a rigorous cost-benefit analysis. Continuing to accommodate a non-compliant partner risks compromising the program's financial health and its technological secrecy. Conversely, reallocating the strategic focus toward Poland and the United Arab Emirates aligns the KF-21 with markets that value the system and possess the capacity to support its lifecycle. The success of the K2 and K9 export models proves that South Korean industry thrives when paired with partners who share a sense of urgency and security alignment. Therefore, the discourse surrounding the KF-21 must shift from how to salvage the Indonesian deal to how to expeditiously restructure the program's international portfolio. The prompt exclusion of unreliable actors, regardless of historical diplomatic ties, may be the necessary condition to ensure the Boramae dominates the skies, not just as a technological marvel, but as a commercial success secured by alliances with nations that demonstrate genuine commitment and shared security values. The future of South Korean aerospace supremacy likely lies not in the tropical archipelagos of the South, but on the eastern plains of Europe and the deserts of the Middle East.